today I'm wearing this like hot pink suit, and I laughed because they know we're pretty cash. It's like post-COVID now. I think attire's completely changed, but sometimes I just like to dress up. I feel great, and I'm wearing this suit, and people are just like, "Oh my god, it's like the pink power suit," and some of them are like very awkward, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's like mid-tax season, a week and a half to go. You're welcome." Like, yes. Here's your like ray of pink sunshine. So
welcome to another episode of the Growth League podcast. I, of course, am your host, Caleb Clark, and I'm here with my special guest, Brittany Pitruniak. Did I get that right? From Crowe MacKay LLP. Really excited to have you. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me, Caleb. It's great to be here.
So I want to introduce the audience a little bit to you. I'm going to read your bio and then we'll kick right off into it. With over 10 years of experience, Brittany is the Director of Marketing and Communications at Crowe MacKay LLP, building a career on finding joy in saying yes. Brittany's skill set is diverse and unique, from organizing events for over 10,000 attendees, digital marketing, copywriting and editing, social media management to recruitment, leading diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, and creating culture strategies. No day is ever the same for Brittany. Driven by her passion for people, she has established herself in the industry as a compassionate leader, proving that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. Known for her high energy, which I've seen, Brittany's enthusiasm is channeled in creating environments where team members can be confident in being their authentic selves while feeling fulfilled in their careers. Brittany is an advocate of leading with empathy and has instilled the values of caring and investing in her teams, clients, and the community. Welcome, Brittany. Thank you very much again. Tell us maybe something else outside of work in your description here that sort of fills your cup or gives you joy or is a passion area for you.
The first thing that comes to mind is I am a spin instructor. So I think it goes hand in hand with that like high energy. Being accountable, I always say like I'm a people person. And I think what actually drives me is being accountable to others. And that's where I love being a leader and being like, part of that team. And so being accountable to, 42 of my closest friends in a room with spin bikes, sometimes it brings me that balance to get me out of the office. So I do that a couple times a week, and it's a great stress reliever too.
Who do you do it for or with?
Yeah, I'll totally do a plug. I spin, it's called YVR Cycles. So they're here in Yaletown in Vancouver, but they're also in Alberta, YEG Cycles in Edmonton and YCC Cycles in Calgary.
That's awesome. Fun fact, an old business coach of mine is Mr. Andrew Obrecht.
So, oh, no way.
So we
love Andrew.
We know each other well. And, this is off topic, but he was my coach during the pandemic, which was really, really interesting because you talk about leadership and giving back. It's like, this is a time in a period where it was like literally the worst ever for his business. And so anyways, we can talk about that later.
Yeah, that's like a whole other, we can do a whole episode on that, right? Bring Andrew in, we can have some fun.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. So tell us a bit more about the firm, about Crowe MacKay, specifically through the lens, what problem do you solve for whom? And why do you think you guys are the best to solve it?
So I'm going to take this lens on more, based on my leadership and what I actually bring to the company, because I think my approach is I am not an accountant. So I work with, again, 400 of my closest friends being accountants across Northern and Western Canada. We're all the way up north in Whitehorse and in Yellowknife and then into Alberta and BC. And accountants, I think they can be pegged with a certain stereotype. I like to think I work with cool accountants. I call them all weirdos. They've all got like quirks and personalities, as most people do outside of the office, but they're a really great bunch. And I like to think, sometimes in their day-to-day, it is spreadsheets, doing the calculations, and it's bringing a little bit of the human interaction in. And I'm the loud one in the office. For sure, I bring in that energy, but really grounding it in and thinking beyond the numbers in the spreadsheets. And I always, I'm so proud of the teams that I get to work with. They are business advisors. They aren't just accountants. They know their clients' work and what they need to do. to find success beyond. But when we look at our teams and inner workings, you said in my bio, like the recruitment, DE&I, culture, in saying yes, I've been able to learn and be a part of a lot of big projects, and specifically for the firm. So I think, making it, our people care. And I think our culture is what differentiates us in our industry and why people stay with us. And if they do happen to move on, they do, we get that feedback quite often. The culture and the people are great, which is to me, the highest compliment you can have. And that means they enjoy coming to work. And I think that's, what I'm always striving to create. But that's something that's been a priority and that I just keep on top of mind, because sometimes I think it's easy for them maybe to get lost in the numbers.
Totally. Well, what a great way of describing your role there, right? Besides the typical,
Totally.
Well, that's great because, businesses are collections of people at the end of the day. And if they're not having fun and if they don't feel together then or safe to do their thing, then so that's awesome. That's a great reminder.
Yeah, totally.
For your outside of that, for your team, what is your primary mandate at the end of the day? What's the thing where you kind of can measure, hey, are we doing right as a function, or do we need to get back on course? What's the number one thing that is your North Star?
I honestly, if my team can be honest with me, I know I'm doing something okay. And as a team, we're doing something right. And that means, like, when I talk about vulnerability, my team knows, the career as I've learned, and I'm happy I've learned it early enough in my career. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Yeah. I very easily, in starting my career, was go, 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 still am, but you work for a long time in your life, right? And to be able to sustain that. And so I've always said to them, sometimes giving 110% is just showing up.
Yeah.
That's literally, some days it is just not your day. And if you can kind of, you don't have to tell me your whole life. And if you do, that's great. I understand boundaries and I'm vulnerable and an open book with them. But some people are like, nope, it's my business, and that's totally fine. But if they can just say, hey, it's one of those days, I love that, because then I know how to interact with them. Yeah. And they know that they can trust me to actually say that. And I have high expectations of my team. I have high expectations of myself, but let's keep that in check and be real. Yeah. And we're all human, right? So I think if they can be honest, and that is simple as, like, you don't need to hide if you got to pick your kid up from, they're sick at school, or the dishwasher breaks and you got to work, from home, or you're taking 2 hours off. You don't have to hide any of that. Just say it. We're human, right? So I think, that's a big indicator to me, is like, are we trusting each other? Are we having open lines of communication? Because then the rest is easy. The work will get done.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What is the business demand of you guys as a function?
Everything in the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, is it like, I always say, I'm like, we're just like this big trash can in, like, the most, not in like a negative way, but again, what I find with marketing, and maybe, maybe it's not marketing, maybe it's me, going back to yes. And I can't stay in my lane. As a kid, let me tell you the side story. Oh my gosh. So I'm such a perfectionist. In grade 1, at 6 years old, I'd be coloring. And if I went outside the lines, I'd outline the whole picture. Like, literally, like, there could not be like this imperfection. So I'd outline the whole picture in like the marker color. And I kind of laugh now, because I always say I color outside the lines. And now, full circle, here we are, years after grade 1, but I always have, and in the most respectful way. Sometimes, it's probably got me in trouble, or even with colleagues, you have to be careful of overstepping, right? And how that can come off with your colleagues. But we've been able to get involved with so many different projects. And for myself, like, I've been able to get opportunities to lead DE&I. I lead our council here at the firm, to work closely with our C-suite and doing culture strategies and talking about cultures and asking the tough questions, and sometimes being okay with maybe not being the most popular one in the room at that time for whatever comment's going to be said, right? I mean, I try to like have some fun with them, but I'm like, oh, this one might not.
They got to make a movie around this, like someone like you planted into a, fairly conservative industry.
Like, I'm not sure, and like, I will say, like, I don't know if that's a flaw. I think it was part of just like my personality. I swear a lot.
Good.
So yeah, like shit, damn, and
Yeah.
there you go, right?
Wave that flag. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I always say that, and I think sometimes maybe our partners like cringe, but I was like, I don't know, it's worked fine for me this far. You hired me. That's who I am. I'm pretty real. Usually it doesn't come out in angry moments. Usually it's usually when I'm excited. So
that's so funny.
But
Are you guys in terms of as a team, the projects that you build within the marketing function, are they more about demonstrating the brand, or is it about actually like performing lead generation and getting, or is it a mix of both? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's really funny. So when I started, I've been with the firm now for 5 years. And when I started, like advertising really wasn't this big thing for the firm. They're mid-size. In 5 years, we've grown exponentially, but it was like word of mouth. I think that's like a lot of this industry. It's like word of mouth, unless you're like big four, big seven.
Sure.
And then it was kind of pushing because our partners were getting younger. We had some transition, some succession planning. And this generation, our generation, like there's a little bit of ego. People want to be proud of where they work, right? They don't want to be like, I work at Crowe MacKay, and someone's like, what? Or they put an RFP in front, and we got this. We'd be going out, put an RFP, and someone's like, hey, your RFP is great. We really like you. Never heard of you. We'll go with your competitor.
Right.
And so then the wheels started turning where it's like, hey, are we ready to invest more? So we did. Like here in BC, we're with the Canucks, sports radio, Sportsnet, we're doing all the goals are for the Canucks or against the Canucks, are all sponsored by us. So it's like we started going into that and really focusing right now on brand, and we're seeing that return. If anything, our people, it's like a badge of this honor. They feel cool, like, oh, I saw your commercial, watching the game. But also, yes, in leads, I think that's where like the next step for us is going to be. And it's a little different because it's the product is a service. And we've talked about that, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit different. We're not just selling, the newest body lotion.
Yeah.
I don't know.
who is the ideal client for the firm, if you can kind of describe them?
Yeah, like a mid-sized business for us is what we're looking for. I mean, in saying that, we do public companies and we've got quite large businesses as well. But we're always mindful of our size and like our capacity. And we, our top priority is, providing the utmost best service. And so sometimes that means our clients at some point do outgrow us. And we know that. We know that when we take a client on, we kind of sometimes can see their lifespan, and it's bittersweet. You're so excited for them and like where their business is going, but also know where we sometimes can sit in that. So yeah, that mid-size, we've got startups, the entrepreneurial, that's very much in our culture. We always say in our founder, Ian MacKay, like there's this grit of that entrepreneurial spirit. And that's what we love to see. Even when we recruit, have a life. We want, what do you do outside? Like, what are your passions? We don't want just you. Yes, in tax season. Yeah, come on in and grind. We've got a few months, but like we want to know, like, who are you and like what makes you tick? Because our people at the end of the day actually like hanging out with each other. We have our conferences and they're over the moon, and it's a 3 days of learning, laughing, drinking, all the good stuff, some social activities, and they like each other. They look forward to it. Man,
anyone listening to this podcast that's thinking about getting into the space, I feel like this is a good recruiting tool. It sounds like a party over there.
Call me, right? It's like we do have a good time. I always say, and this is probably why I like it and align a lot with our culture too, is you work hard, play hard. They are our partnership is fair. They reward, they recognize, they're really, and I say this very sincerely, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't want to work as hard as I do if I didn't feel I was part of a team and getting traction and making a difference. So
talking about team, how is your marketing team constructed? If it's a combination of internal people, external people, how's the structure?
Yeah, it keeps kind of growing, which is great. I love that. I've got 2 on my team full-time, and then I have these like part-time members that when we talk about investing in people and what Crowe does, a lot of our administrative professionals, if they show interest in marketing, I tap into that and I go to the CEO and I'm like, hey, we want to retain this person. Usually in the admin side, you see a lot of movement. They outgrow
Right.
that, right? They're ready to move on. I was like, well, can we start bringing them in on marketing and, developing their skills? I'll work with them. And I love the coaching and mentoring side. Anyone who does it know it takes time. And it does. It is time intensive, but I love, being hands-on and doing that. So I've kind of got 2 to 3 others kind of floating. And we have 8 offices, so I can kind of tap in different markets.
That's cool.
And then we do have, of course, contractors that we work with as well, because I'm the first to say I'm not an expert in everything. I dip my toes in. I have a lot of experience in different areas, but I'm not the expert. So love working and learning with those much smarter than me.
That's great. That's awesome. That's a good indication of a good leader, right? Knowing where your lines are. And where... I feel like I could almost answer this if it was a question on a test, but I'm going to put it to you and put you on the spot a little bit. What, as a marketer or as a marketing leader, what would you say your top 2 superpowers are?
Oh, my top 2 superpowers. This is like so tough. I think I'm going to say like my care, my empathy. I really do. Like that is something that I bring, and I've been really blessed. I worked for my mom and she showed me the value of appreciation. And I think that's really created, when you can make someone feel cared for and appreciated, they will go the extra mile for you because they know you do the same for them. So I think as I thought it was very common because I grew up with it, I'm realizing sometimes it's not.
It's not.
So I think that would be one for sure. And I can take on a lot of stress. Not sure if that's a superpower. It might bite me in the ass later in life, but I can take on a lot at once. I thrive in stress. It definitely could go both ways. Could be, the devil, but when used right, I can definitely can take on a lot.
Well, I'm sure your team, whether that's spoken or not spoken, appreciates that a lot, right? Because it's when their leader is not flailing their arms ferociously, that communicates everything's going to be okay, right? So,
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's times where I'm like,
sure.
Close the door and like, what am I doing? But you know what? I also, because I am a yes person, I love to say to my team, hey, you're allowed to check me. So if all of a sudden I've got 2 people who've come to my door, there's a lot of pivot moments. Oh, this is coming up. Oh, the CRA went on strike.
What's going on?
Yeah, right. Guess we should like put something out, make sure our clients know, here's some commonly asked questions. We create that, work with, some partners, get them to review it. But there's a lot of pivots in our day. And sometimes I have a great idea, the shower thought, the 2 a.m, oh, we should do this. And I'm like, you have to tell me when it's too much or you can't do it all. So actually a big thing is sometimes saying yes too much, or and then projects don't get done.
What would you say a weakness is?
Right. And sometimes it is that. It's like, okay, we're doing it. And then I started to realize I'm a lover of like a Gantt chart. And so we have our quarters. Yeah. Oh yeah. So I'm quite organized and like neurotic on my organization, like almost like folders within folders within folders. It's too much. But yeah, so we have these meetings with the team and we're looking at it in quarters, and we'll always celebrate every quarter. But I started seeing not enough was getting done, and why. And like not even enough was getting done. There was tasks being carried over quarter after quarter after quarter. And I was like, so that's like my weakness. Like, why is that happening? It's not all on you. We're a team. And so then it was just like, hey, let's get real. So if something's not getting done, why? And then it's like, it needs to be the priority. So what has to come off? Or halfway through the quarter, it's that temperature check. Have we pivoted every week? Because COVID was a prime example, right? Something new was coming up. So nothing was getting done operationally, and it was just continually like reactive. So then it's also managing expectations. I'm really proud of like our department is trusted by our partners. They know they can come to us. They know things can get done. But sometimes you have to set those expectations as well and be realistic. And any good leader will understand that. Yeah, like sometimes that comes with ego. I love like, succeeding and overachieving, and that's ego. So yeah.
Totally. That's I want to give you the chance to maybe, is there something you can think about that you'd you want to brag about or shine some light on that your team has been able to accomplish in the last little bit? Maybe it was a campaign or a new strategic initiative that you put forth. What's a success story that you can reflect?
Yeah, totally. I think our biggest one, and it's a total plug, so everyone like go check this out on our website, is our corporate social responsibility report. So it highlighted everything we've done in 2022. And, you know, I'll show, our last one we did highlighted 2018. And we hadn't had a report since then. And in the meantime of that, so in 4 years, we've created systems to easily track our sponsorships, are like all internal systems, right? So all of our teams are talking to each other and we can have more of a pulse. We've created communication channels. So people are telling us and sharing this information. And, you know, the manager on my team, empowered her. She's leading our corporate social responsibility council internally. Cool. And Alexis is just awesome at that. And I said, well, this is a lot of work. Like you gotta celebrate your work and put that in a report. And that's like part of now our processes. And it was a journey. It took, oh my God, probably 5 months. Easy between gathering info, laying it out, writing it, designing it, redesigning it. Like there was always something, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be careful because then the pressure came on because it was like, it's in 2023, you know, the report comes out for the previous year, sure, but like it can't come out in June. Like then there's this like pressure, and then there's operational things that we're doing. So we learned a lot. We're excited. We're already planning this report for the end of the year, right? So, but yeah, that was a big win, and all hands were on deck, and really proud of them.
Well,
and it's beautiful. So
yeah, congrats. Well, I'll go check it out after this.
Yeah, go in there, give us some clicks. It's great.
if you had a magic wand and you could you know, do whatever you do with the wand and get rid of the biggest problem or challenge that you guys have as a team right now, what is that challenge that you're experiencing in doing your work or achieving the objectives that you're meant to achieve?
I think like, and it can't just be me, I think it's everyone, probably any job, but it's those like pivots that literally I've started to realize in the last year, how when you're pivoting or your attention is taken away from your task, how much time you waste getting back in the zone.
Okay.
So, you know, I really learned with my team, you know, we all have internal chats now, and I very much encourage them, put on do not disturb if you're doing something, so no one can bother you. Like your phone's off, no one, you don't get no notifications. We can see you're obviously writing or doing something because you waste so much time. And I love open door policy.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness, there are days and I'm like, what have I done today? Because I've built culture. I've built culture. I've built relationships, you know, I've chatted with everyone about their dog and their kids, but I was like, oh my God, where'd the day go? And it's all in balance, but it's the pivots, which is life. But that's what takes away from sometimes like the bigger projects. And those are the things that just linger. And I've seen that. So, you know, just really starting to create those boundaries is something, you know, that I'm always working on. And I always say to my team, do as I say, not as I do. So they're doing really good. But yeah, that's something, you know, of just kind of managing those as expectations. And sometimes it's the expectations of yourself too. Like how many projects can you take on, right?
Yeah. Would you, maybe a tough question, but when you look at the marketing function right now for the firm, would you consider your guys to be a cost center or an investment center for the firm?
Well, I always, me personally, and I always get corrected, which I love when a partner corrects me, because we are not chargeable like the partners are. I always say we're a cost center. Right. But again, it just shows how great of the teams I work on. They're like, are you kidding me? Like, you're doing this. We have, you know, our clients telling us, they hear this, they have that like keeps them happy. They think we're doing cool things. We get referrals in. So, I mean, there is so much of that BD that is a part of that. But I mean, if we're looking numbers and I'm talking to accountants, yeah, we're a cost center, but you know, I'm actually starting in this role, and I guess we'll say it now, doing like agency type work. So one of the services that we are adding to our firm is going to be marketing, communications, and strategy. So we will start having clients, and we're always looking at diversifying our business and what that looks like. And with our current clients, what else can we service and provide to them, since we kind of have the whole gamut of their business in front of us. We can,
that's
very
be interesting.
Yeah.
I think that's cool, because it does kind of demonstrate, whether this was intentional or not, but it demonstrates that you do actually care about their business, right? Because
absolutely,
there's a whole gamut of things that go into supporting that business, not just the decimals and the zeros and tracking. No, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's a slow kind of burn. I'm not going to lie. Again, work for great people, and they're like, it's okay. I always say the F word, and this one is fail. It's great. Failure. I always say, like, fail forward. That's my motto with the team. I've got you. We don't save lives. So, like, it's okay. And then when it's reversed on me, and, the CEO looks at me, I was like, it's okay. You're not going to fail. We've got you. Let's take this slow. It's like, oh yeah, it's fine. I'm fine. It's fine. So
as a departure, kind of a side note, I just can imagine, do you just run around the office like dropping F-bombs on people and or not in a bad way, but like getting people pumped up?
They know. Like, I think so. Today I'm wearing this like hot pink suit, and I laughed because they know we're pretty cash. It's like post-COVID now. I think attire's completely changed, but sometimes I just like to dress up. I feel great. And I'm wearing this suit, and people are just like, oh my God, it's like the pink power suit. And some of them are like very awkward. And I'm like, yeah, it's like mid-tax season, a week and a half to go. You're welcome. Like, yes, there's your like ray of pink sunshine. So yeah, I am, when I go on vacation, or if I work from home a day or two, I usually come in and like, where have you been? It's been too quiet, hasn't it? Oh, you missed me. It's okay.
You know what? Like, it's very interesting how you're leading the marketing function, but in any role that any of us find ourselves in, there's so many other things we can do for the company, right?
So many. And it just, it's our person. I feel it's typical personalities, a little bit of like kind of fall into marketing. But absolutely. And I've realized how much, or maybe not, again, maybe it's just me being, coloring outside the lines, but how marketing just intersects with so many other functions, right? You look at HR, there's so many operational things. DE&I, it's just, like HR and marketing, as you're seeing more and more, there's so much more webinars and PD around that. Is like how you can work more together and, just really support each other. And it's big. It's completely, stop thinking in a silo. And I think that's another big thing, when I talk to my team, it's like, can you treat this like it's your business? I swear to God, you will thrive, and like, you will be respected for that. So if you treat this like your business and you think, bigger picture, I say you'll be unstoppable, because it's not as common as you think.
Why do you care so much?
I don't know.
I'm curious about that.
I think I always say I was raised pretty old school. My family's always had hospitality businesses growing up, and they cared about their people. My family also worked their businesses. They didn't just own them. They like worked them on the ground. So I'll totally plug, like, my family growing up, I grew up outside of Edmonton in Spruce Grove, and Jack's Drive-In was like my family business. So burgers and ice cream. And like, I grew up working there, but my mom was flipping burgers with like the 16-year-olds, right? Like, she wasn't above it. I always say you're never above taking out the garbage. You got to do it. Sure, you get more responsibility leading up into leadership roles, but you got to be able to do it all. And so I've always just believed in working. And I think sometimes I work harder and not smarter. I don't know, but it's worked out so far for me. I find success when I feel connected. So wherever I've been, I had a great time in university, and I gave it my all. And I immersed myself into that community, and that's where I was, and hung out for a stint of time and found success, and it built a great career, right? So it's just like feeling connected. And I think that's why I care.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's such a good message. I mean, there's paychecks, but we got a short life here, right? So.
And you spend so much of your time at work. Like when you start reflecting, it's just like, people, your work colleagues see you more than your partner, your kids, or your friends. And so it's like, why would I want to go somewhere that I don't like the work they do or like what they stand for, their core values, and I don't like my colleagues. And yeah, it's just how I kind of connect.
Interesting.
Like I don't work from home. I could, but I don't. I like
Yeah.
coming in because I like people and I like the
Yeah.
connection. So it brings some
So,
value.
so based on that, because you place so much importance on building relationships with the people you're working with and, you know, having a good time with them, how do you, and I'm very curious about this, how do you hold people accountable?
Yeah, so like half of my team is virtual. Some
Okay.
are outside of Canada even, right?
Okay.
And I think that's, and I always laugh because you hear this argument, people just aren't as productive at home and, you know, they're being lazy, sure. And I was like, we have all the tools. It's really easy and obvious when someone's not working.
Okay.
Again, you're being honest with me and you're telling me like what you're, you know, oh, I got a dentist appointment, okay, like go do your thing. That's all cool. But like my team is so connected because things are changing so fast. We're emailing, we're typing, we're on video calls. I video call. We're a video call type of team, right?
Yeah.
Instead of phone calls. So we can see that body language and that interaction. My team, if they're not feeling it, I've had team members come to me and say, hey, I'm not doing well. Like I miss being in the office, but I work remote and we don't have an office there, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, what can we do? And thank you for sharing that. And, you know, let's find a solution. I care about you. I want you to do well. And to be honest, I love my team. I don't want to lose them. So now
Right.
as a leader, you start playing on, you got to keep the team. And I called my mom. I was like, oh my God, I get how you felt running your business and staffing because it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare to like interview and hire and train. It's like you lose at minimum a year. It takes someone a year to understand the cycle.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it's
So
possible to do both. It's possible to keep people
totally.
accountable to KPIs and targets and then
Yeah. Track
cheer
it,
them
talk
on
to them.
too. Yeah.
Exactly. Like if you're not going to talk to someone, I feel they're not going to feel connected. They're going to feel like can they even come to you if they had a question if you aren't talking regularly?
Yeah.
And are you being proactive? Can you foresee some of the problems that are happening? I have team meetings with individuals on a weekly basis. We have monthly coaching calls and they are everything under the sun, personal, like what they drive it, the team.
Right.
You get an hour of my time. I'm an open book. We can talk personal things. We can talk business things. It's usually a mix. And then, you know, we have bi-weekly check in on like, what are the work we're doing on the quarter? All right, like, let's look at that Gantt chart. What is way out to lunch right now? Okay,
Right.
why is this? Right. And
Okay.
you don't want to have death by meeting also. Right. And I've also learned a fine line. There's also things where I'm like, no, like delete that meeting, not required anymore. Or like death by email. I hate email so much. It's like people are just like, I have a question. And I was like, can you batch your questions? Or is it like that urgent? And I used to be that person, like very like, I have a question, blah, blah, blah. And now it's like, this is not do or die. So I'm going to put it in my meeting note for my weekly meeting because it can last for 5 days. It's not immediate. And then it doesn't stress them out. And then, you know, my high energy can also be very stressful for other people.
Okay.
And I've
How
had
do
to,
you,
right? Like I had to really manage that and be very aware of that. And that's something like I'm working on always. I've been told that throughout my life.
no, that's I think you should keep flying that flag for sure. What about you know, lots of high functioning teams have disagreements and conflicts and what's been your approach or blueprint on navigating those or managing conflicts and disagreements internally?
Yeah, I would say because I care, you know, when you just think of like office politics, it can be so easy to like kind of get sucked in, right? I care about the people and this and that. And there's always validity in whatever someone's bringing to the table. They're bringing it up because they need to feel heard and needs not being met.
Yeah.
But I am very much, my personality is, can you bring me a solution or can you bring me an idea? Or if you need to vent, totally cool. but like we all need to vent sometimes. So like totally cool. We can take 10, vent, but don't just always come. You can't just come to the table always expecting someone else to bring you the solution. If you want to be a part of the team, I'm here to take care of, but also expect that to be reciprocated. We take care of each other, but don't just be looking for me to create solutions. And so I've made that pretty clear with my team. There's some times where they're like, I don't know, totally cool. But I like them to care as well. If you care, like you should have some ideas, and like, there's no stupid question. There's no stupid idea. I don't know. There's been great things that have come out of, my team will be like, don't forget, we should do a quarterly celebration. And it's like the higher you go and the longer you're in your career and the higher kind of in leadership you build up into, you forget sometimes to show the appreciation. And I've noticed that. And it's like, you start to get more removed. And it's like, you don't eat with your colleagues as much or hang out in the lunchroom, which means you actually miss a lot of the rumblings and how to stay connected with your people, right? Because you're starting to be pulled higher and higher up. So I try to keep myself in check with that. And again, keep the open lines of communications where I can be called out too. But yeah, encouraging them to bring some solutions to the table too. But disagreements do happen. I can also be a hothead. The energy can also like turn into like so
people start to understand which Brittany they're getting, but it seems like
I preface. Okay. I'll come in on a meeting and be like, yeah, man, it's not a good day. So I'm going to ask, if you don't really need something today, probably don't ask for it. And I had a few like, I was going to tell you I was like requesting some vacation, but I thought I'd just wait till tomorrow. I'm like, well, I wouldn't say no to your vacation, but hey, thank you. So that's like the dialogue I have with my team. Some days they're just like, yeah, I'm not here today. And I was like, hit up the back burner list. That's what we call it. The list of shit that just like is monotonous. That's not really urgent, but eventually it needs to get done. Sometimes 5 years later, the bio, awesome. Right? Well, but like hit up the back burner list.
I think you're giving a very good example of how work can be fun and it can be adding to your life versus just taking hours out of your life. And that's critical. Like you can be serious and you can be organized and tethered to a set of objectives. You can do all those things and still have humanity in what you're doing. So
totally. No one's a robot. I don't want to be treated like that. You only can do it for so long, right?
Yeah. That's awesome. Without naming names of, certain competitors, but how feisty is the market right now for the types of problems you guys solve, and the types of businesses you go after? And do you have any things you can point to that, and you alluded to this earlier, but that position you guys to be a little bit better in certain areas than competitors?
So economy's slightly shifting, but for the last couple of years, we were in the driver's seat. Okay. All of us. We had too much work. All the firms, turning work down. The issue was capacity. Right. So right now it is fierce for humans. We need staff. And that's where we're seeing the competition for sure. I would say it's getting better, but people who want to stay in public practice, we're seeing a lot of, even our students who are coming up, people aren't really interested in accounting as what it used to be. So it's almost shaking up our industry a little bit. And so I'm always thinking of like, well, how can we cater to this new generation to get them in the door and then keep them? And sometimes you want also people to leave. And if you don't burn a bridge, we're a great firm. People come back. Sometimes and we want them, get other experience. Yeah. But with our clients, which is different than a lot of firms, is they talk to their partner. They talk to the partner on the file, not, the staff accountant and the senior manager. They actually know that partner and will have communication with that partner. Yes, you'll hear from other team members doing things along the process, along the work, sure, but the partner is there and cares and they know them, and it's not reserved for a certain threshold of revenue, right? Like a certain size of client. That is what all of our clients get. And that is what they can expect.
That's what people want right now, right?
They want the human, right? They want that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
obviously at one point you were starting out in your marketing career, and there's a lot of people in our audience that are same thing. They're, marketing coordinator or an intern, and they want to grow up, manager, director, whatever. What's some of the things that you would impart on them as advice or suggestions?
Yeah. Say yes. Always say yes. I can't remember when I've said no when it came to my career. And, if you're listening to this and you're in that intern phase or in university, get involved. I had a prof refer me to like one of my first interns. It was at Global Edmonton. I worked there for like 3 or 4 years, a couple days a week, met great people. And I mean, everyone is just so connected. And so you say the word networking, people freak out. But you'd be shocked in how you can do that. You'll be shocked down the road, by being in touch, whether it's on Instagram or LinkedIn or however, you can slide into that DM or send a message, right? And like, it's not, slide into the DM that way, but it's like, it's staying connected. Like if you're going into accounting, you're going to have to build a book. Right. Right. And so you obviously might have some friends who are med and doctors. They will need an accountant. There you go. Or starting a small business, they will need an accountant. There you go. Depending on where you are. So take a little bit of time to, make those relationships, but say yes. Don't say it's not my job. Yeah. If you want to just like really flatline the career there and the growth, saying that's not my job, to anyone, but like, especially any type of leader, they'll remember that. Like that will just kind of set the tone. If they know they can go to you and you're trusted, you got to be careful because there's always boundaries. Usually the trusted people sometimes always get the work, and there's lots of podcasts and books about that. But when you become trusted in that, you will get those opportunities. And say yes, ask for help.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Great reminders. What do you do to keep yourself sharp, or whether it be in the leadership realm or in the marketing side? Like, what do you do for development of yourself, learning?
Yeah, it is actually, I would say, in full honesty, like one of my weaknesses when I started in this job, because I was so focused on the job, and this job was a challenge for me when I first came. I definitely took a leap and was like, fake it till you make it. That is also a thing in life, right? Like I will totally say that like in starting, I've learned a lot. I had a lot of skills coming in, but I also had to learn a lot, and it's been great. But I learned, I was so focused on the job, like how do you stay sharp? I wasn't the first like year and a half. I wasn't doing, PD. So, find those professional organizations, International Business Association, like the communicators, and get on those webinars, put them in your calendar, and then go to them. Don't say you'll watch the recording. We all know you're lying to yourself. I have 50 emails of like in my inbox saying like, here's your recording because you missed it. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll watch that. On my holidays, on the beach, I'll just like, instead of read my book, watch a PD. Like, no, absolutely not. So don't lie to yourself. But I've also sometimes get my best learning through talking with my network and just being honest with those in my network. My network being I have amazing friends. They're doing amazing things in their career, and we talk. And sometimes it's like we're talking while like we're doing our makeup in the morning, FaceTime, like she's drinking coffee. I just talked to my one girlfriend, Britt, and that's when we can fit in 15 minutes, but we catch up on life and we'll talk about salary negotiations, who's pissing us off. Like, honestly, we talk about all that stuff, and I'm so transparent when it comes to like money and that with my girlfriends. I want them to be making all the money and to be transparent and to know what they're going after. And my network, we talk about all that.
Community. Yeah.
Yeah.
To something you said earlier, I think it's either coffee or Brittany in the morning. You can take one of the two.
Yeah. It's like, if I take a shot of coffee, sometimes I need it right before a spin class. I'm just saying that is a class that you will come out just dripping with sweat.
Well, I mean, if I'm not careful, we could talk for a long time. And I think that this is awesome. An awesome episode because of the reminders you're giving us in terms of like, have fun doing this stuff and make people feel good and care and say yes. And like, so many people take it way too seriously, and not that you're not taking it seriously. You're
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, totally. It's if you're not having fun, and like I can say, Caleb, honestly, I like 99% of the day, like 100%, I don't hate what I do. I love what I do, and I can say that.
Yeah.
And every job that I've been at, I love it, because if I don't stay. And
Right.
I've been very lucky in choosing jobs and where I work in the companies. I know what I'm getting into. I ask the questions, or I have the referrals. But you're allowed to have bad days. That doesn't mean you don't love what you do. You don't love where you work. You're allowed to have bad days. We are all human. But yeah, I can't imagine not. That doesn't mean, I'm living to work.
Yeah.
It just means like I love what I do. I spend a lot of time here, and people are like, oh, how do you make more money? And I was like, money follows. Money, like that is like one of my things. You love what you do, the money will follow, because you will just grow and succeed naturally.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for spending this time.
You're so welcome. This has been great.
Very cool. I think we probably have to do a follow-up to this. So.
Love it. You know where to find me. That'd be great. I would.
Thank you so much, Brittany. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Take care, Caleb.
See ya.
Bye.